All right. Let's get busy. So today marks day 3 of me documenting the process of me building a personal toolbox website. So far, what we have is a responsive website that gives us the ability to distinguish which page we're on. Right now, we're on the home route. If we click on sha-256, you see it takes us to that specific URL. And we have an indicator here on the left-hand side that lets us know what page we're on. So just to enhance the user experience, we have a responsive navigation sidebar that is built in a way that will give us the easy ability to add additional links as the website or the toolbox grows and we want to add more things to it. But for right now, we're just going to continue on with what we currently have in place. So for today, what I want to do is I want to build out this page, have the ability to have a simple sha-256 function where we can type in some text, tap into a local API or the browser, the URL API, excuse me, of crypto. And from there, we'll be able to run the function, hash the text. And of course, with this, we won't be able to undo the text. So with that said, we are going to jump in here in just a second and get started. Hope everyone's doing pretty good. Getting ready to get this thing going. This might be a slightly longer session than what I've been doing normally, but either way, hopefully you gain some value from it, and always looking for feedback. So if there's anything that you'd like to see me do or do differently or add to or whatever, just let me know. I'll be happy to accommodate as best as I can. Enjoying a nice day off from work. Hope everyone else is doing pretty good out there. And we are almost ready to get started. So we just have the nextjs project thus far. No additional libraries. I think we just have Daisy UI, but nothing too demanding. And we're just using some good old React hooks, front end hooks, to kind of help bring this thing to life. And we're just gonna go with it from there. So I think I am about ready to get going. Let's get into the editor. We'll do that later. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll work on the actual styling of the website. And we'll just go to this page. And I think we can change the view to give it a better view. Give me 1 second. So let's get this thing on the road. So let's start with building out the design or the layout of the page, and then from there we'll transition to the actual functionality. So we'll just do a section tag, add a class name, set the height to full. We'll go in height full. We'll have the background for this to be white with some padding on the X, and on the y-axis on medium devices we'll set the padding on the X to 6 and give this a gap of 6. Okay, looks pretty good. And we'll add a separate div and give this a class name of margin of auto flex. We'll set the width to full, and then the maximum width will be 6XL. Set the direction to column and give a little gap of 6. And we can't see anything just yet. We'll add a H1. In this, we'll go sha-256 2. It looks pretty good. And just to give this some styling, we'll set the text to 2XL. The font will be semi-bold. And we'll do tracking tight with the text to neutral 900. All right, so I want the way this is going to look is I want the text to be displayed dynamically depending upon if we have a encoder or a decoder. And I know that you can't decode sha-256, but we may want to include a hash of some sort later on. So I just want to set it up with the thought in mind that this will eventually scale and we'll have additional functionality with it. But for right now, this will be just fine. So what I'm getting at is we're going to add a p tag, and this will be dynamic text. But for right now, we'll just hard code something in so we can build out the design first. About to. Yeah, that works. All right, cool. Now underneath this div, that is the header section, we'll add a new div with a class name of flex and justify center. And we'll add another div inside of it with a button. And this button will be encrypt, encryptor, excuse me, encryptor. And this is what we'll use to kind of manage the actual mode itself. We'll have encryptor and decryptor, and you'll be able to click and toggle in between the two. So let's just clean this up a little bit. We'll go with a class name of inline flex. We'll go rounded extra large and set the background to neutral 100 with a shadow of small. Yep, looks pretty good. And then now we just need to style the button. We'll give this a class name. This will need to be dynamic. And we'll go set a minimum width of, I need to put this in. Sorry about that. Set the minimum width of 36. We'll go rounded large. And we're back. All right, so let's carry on. All right, so we've got our class name, and let's just begin to just add some basic styling. So we'll set the padding on the X of 3, on the Y, we'll set that to 1.5. Looks pretty good. And we'll set the text to small, the font to medium, and we'll go transition all. There we go, and set the duration to 200. Cool. And like I said, we'll have decryptor here, and we'll add the mode in a moment, so that if it's one mode, we'll see one thing. If it's a different mode, we'll see something else. Matter of fact, we could just go ahead and add the second button right here and not worry about making it dynamic. All right, and then we'll put decryptor. We'll go class name. And I actually can just copy this and replace this with this. It's the same text. Looks pretty good. Yeah, that'll work. All right, and we'll come outside of these two divs and add a new div. And this is where we'll hold the actual input and output for the function. So we'll go class name of grid and set the grid columns to 1 with a gap of 2. And on large devices, we want the grid columns to be 1FR. 1FR underscore auto underscore 1FR. Yeah, that should be the syntax. If not, we can always fix it. On large devices, I want the items to be centered. Perfect. And this one will go rounded of medium. Give it a border. We want it to be neutral to 100. We'll set the background to white, and we'll go shadow DOW small. Okay. And we'll add another div inside of this. We'll go border bottom. Let the border be neutral 200. We'll set the we get this some padding on the X of 2 and on the Y of 1.5. And then we'll just have a P tag. I'll just add text for right now, but we're going to come back and make this dynamic. And this is starting to come along rather nicely. All right. All right. And we'll go ahead and style this for right now. Give it a text of small, font of medium, and set the text to neutral 700. All right, so outside of that, we will add another div. Use padding of 2. Then this one, we want a text area. A placeholder. For right now, we'll just have encrypt, ENCRYPT, yep. I'll give it a class name of min height 24. which will make the minimum height of 55. Set the width to full. Resize will make none. We'll go rounded extra large. That works. Just give it a border. Go to neutral 200. Make the background white. Set the padding to 4. Make the text small. And we want the color rate of it to be neutral 900. I don't want any outline. And we'll go transition. And we'll add focus, border, neutral 400. There we go. Looks pretty good so far. And we'll come back and add the on change handler. And we'll also add the value, which will be input. And then we'll also add update the placeholder from showing encrypt so that it'll be dynamic based upon the mode that we're in. So we'll come back and do those things in a bit. But outside of that div, outside of the text area, excuse me, and we'll come down 2 divs so that we are outside of the one that's holding the container. Let's add another div that will hold the output. It's a class name of flex. We'll go justify center. We'll add a div inside of it with a class name of flex. Set the height to 6, the width to 6. We'll let the items be centered. And it'd probably be a little better if we just go ahead and this is going to hold a left arrow, so we'll just import that from Lucid React, and we'll make this a arrow right. Add it there. Set the height to 5 and the width to 5 for this. Perfect. All right, so we have the item centered. We'll go justify center, rounded a full. Give it a border. Set the background to neutral 50. Make the text neutral 600. Go shadow of small. There we go. And we have a stylish arrow, if you will. All right, so we'll come outside of this arrow, outside of that div, holding our arrow, and outside of the next div, and we'll add a new div. We'll give it a class name of rounded medium, border neutral 200. Set the background to white and give it a shadow of small. You see that is listed there. All right. Let's add another div with a class name of border bottom. Let's give the border to 200. And I think we can give this a padding on the X of 2 and on the Y of 1.5. P tag, let's put page title. And for this, we'll make the text small, the font medium, And we'll make the text color neutral 700. And then underneath or outside of this div, let's add another div, and we'll give it a padding of 2 for consistency. This is going to be the text area that will hold the output. So we'll just go read only for this, and we'll go placeholder output here. Then we'll give this a class name with a min height of 24. On large devices, we'll make the minimum height, I think we did 55. I think that's about right. Set the width to full, resize, size ZE, none, rounded, extra large, border neutral 200. Set the background to neutral 50, padding of 4, text size will be small, and let's give it a color, neutral 900, and go outline of none. There, I think those look fairly similar. All right, so then we'll need to come outside of these divs. We'll add a new div, the class name of flex, set the direction of column, give it a gap of 3. And on medium devices, we'll set the flex to row. Justify between. And this is going to hold a button. We'll go set this class name to flex. Justify center, and on medium devices we'll go justify start. There we go. And the button, we'll add a arrow right, class name a height of 4 and a width of 4. And all right, so for this, we'll set the type to button. We'll add an on-click handler later, but for right now, let's just style it. We'll go inline flex, because we're going to have some text inside of this button as well. We'll set the items to centered, the gap to 2, go rounded full, and set the background to neutral 900. Padding on the X will be 4, on the Y will be 2. Set the text to small, the font to medium, and we'll make the text color white. And just go transition, and on hover, I like to change the opacity to 90. Let's make it 1.5. that's better. There, I think that's similar to what we have right there. Yeah, I think that works. That works, that works, that works. And then outside of that div, we'll add a new div with a button. Let's go ahead and import rotate CCW. Inside of this button, we'll add that now. You see that listed there. For this div, go class name of flex wrap. Set the items to center. Justify center, a gap of 3. And on medium, we'll go justify end. There we go. And then now, just to give the button a little bit of life, we'll set the type to button. And we'll go class name inline flex. Set the items to centered. Give it a gap of 2. Go rounded, full border, neutral 200. Set the background to white. Set the padding on the X to 3. Set the Y as well. We'll make the text small. The font will be medium. And we'll make the text neutral 700. The transition. And on hover, we'll set the background to neutral 50. And I'll just add the text of reset here. There we go. We're almost finished. Just hang in there with me. Go button. This will represent the ability to copy. And copy. There we go. Looks pretty good. And set the type to button. This is a class name of inline flex. Two. Go rounded full border neutral 200. Background white. And the X3. Y1, set the text to small, the font can be medium. We'll make the text neutral 700. And just add transition. And on hover, I'll change the background to neutral 50. There we go. All right, and then last but not least, before we build out the UI, maybe I'll add the text a copy here. There. Before we add the functionality to the UI, excuse me, we'll jump out of those 2 divs and add one more so we can have just some text down at the bottom. P tag. Inside of that, we'll have a span. Note. I'm just going to sha-256 is a one-way hashing algorithm. R R-I-T-H, or is it R-Y-T-H? No, it's R-I-T-H-M. R-I-T-H-M. You can generate a hash from text, but you cannot reverse the hash back into the original input. There we go. And just to clean that up a little bit, we'll go class name rounded extra large. Give this a border neutral 200. Set the background to neutral 50. Give it some padding. There we go. With this, we'll set the text to small and go leading 6. And make the text color neutral 700. And then for this span, we'll set the font to semi-bold. All right, this looks pretty good. All right, so now, let's make sure everything works here. Perfect. All right, so cool beans. All right, so now let's focus on adding in some of the functionality. And to begin with, we'll need to, oh, I know why that's like that. First thing we'll need to do is make this a client-side component. So we'll mark the page as use client. We'll need a couple of things. First will be use memo and use state. Those are coming from React. Use memo will allow us to do something after something has been rendered. Use state is just going to manage the state. All right, so we'll need to set the type so that we could distinguish the mode. First will be encrypt, E-N-C-R-Y-P-T, or decrypt, C-R-Y-P-T. And I know we can't decrypt this hash, but we're gonna add some additional functionality in another video, not right now, but it'll make sense later on. So inside of this, we'll need to create a few functions, and we'll need to gain access to some state variables. So first, we'll set use state to the mode. And we'll make this mode and set mode. The default state will be, oh, I got something off. Oh, that's right. The mode is going to be what we're getting access to, and the default will be encrypt. Sorry, I was tripping for a second. The next will be the input. And we'll go set input. This is going to be set to use state, and the initial state of this will be an empty string. And we'll do the same thing with the output. Set output, be a use state, and it'll be an empty string. Perfect. All right, so the first thing I want to update is the page title. And I think I have that this about to. I want this to be dynamic instead of it being hard coded. So I'm gonna create a function named helper text. Go const helper text. This will be equal to use memo. And we'll say if the mode is equal to encrypt, we want to display some text. And we'll just return enter text on the enter text in the input and generate gen8 a sha-256 hash. Otherwise, we want to return, and this is if it is not encrypt, sha-256 cannot be directly decrypted. And we'll just keep it at that for right now. And of course, with use memo, we'll need to pass something back in, and we're just going to pass in mode, and that cares for that. So then I'll change the about to I think we named it helper text. Perfect. So we see right now the mode is encrypt. So because the mode is encrypt, we are displaying inner text to text in the inputs. Perfect. All right, so that takes care of that. I think next, let's work on setting the mode. So inside of this button where we have encryptor, let's add a type with a button, and I think we can just bring this in directly with the on click. We'll go set mode encrypt, and then underneath the duration, if the mode is equal to encrypt, then I want something to take place. I want the background to be neutral 900 so it is distinguished. We'll set the text to white so we can read it, and we'll go a shadow of small. Yep. Or we'll set the text to neutral. This is what it will be when it is not. And on hover, we'll make the text neutral 900. There we go. We can't change it right now, but why is this? Yeah, that works. One. All right, so that looks pretty good so far. All right. here. Do dot join. There. My only issue with this is my background color isn't changing. Let me do this first. Let's add the same functionality to the decryptor. So we'll make the type button, and we'll go on click, set mode to decrypt. As you can see, it does change. So now let's add this exact same text. As you can see, this changes. Is decrypt, decrypt. There we go. You see the text changes, you see the color changes. The background color isn't changing, but I have it set to neutral 900, but I will come back to that. I wonder, I'll come back to that. All right, so now let's shift our focus to the inputs. Let's go to the text area where we have our placeholder. I'm gonna remove this and we'll pass the bracket so it's dynamic. So if the mode is equal to encrypt, then we'll say type text here. Otherwise, we will say paste a sha-256 hash here. And as you can see, when we have that, you'll be able to paste it in there. I tell you what. We'll just make the text purple 700. I'm gonna do the same thing here. There we go. All right, so now let's shift our focus to creating a function that can handle the actual action itself. So we'll create a const name handle action, and this will be an asynchronous function, of course, because we'll be waiting on something. And we'll say if the mode is equal to encrypt, just for validation. If we don't get a input, then we'll set the output to a empty text and just return. Otherwise, we'll create a const name encoder and set it equal to new text encoder. And we'll create a const name data, and it'll be equal to encoder.encode, which is one of the methods that comes from the text encoder. And what it is going to be looking for is the input. Then we'll create a const named hash buffer and set it equal to await crypto dot subtile dot digest. Yep. sha-256. And we'll pass in the data. Then we'll create a const named hash array, and it will be equal to array dot from, and we'll pass in new UT8 array. Yep. And in that we'll pass in the hash buffer. Make sure I got that right. Yeah, that looks good. If not, we'll find out in a moment. Then we'll create a const named hash hex and set it equal to hash array dot map byte dot to string 16 dot pad start. Yep. And then we'll pass in 2 and 0, and we'll also include dot join. And then if what we want to do then is set the actual output to the hash hex, and we can just return this. Otherwise, we'll set the output to sha-256 is a one-way hashing algorithm. RITHN. It cannot be decrypted back into the original ORIG, the original text. Perfect. And then we'll create a const to reset, which let's const handle reset. And we'll set the input to an empty string in addition to the output to an empty string. And then for the ability to handle the copy, if we want to copy the encryption, create a const name handle copy, set to async, and we'll say if there's no output, just return. Otherwise, we're going to await navigator dot clipboard, yep, dot write text, and be looking for the output. Let's click save. Perfect. All right, so now we just need to pass in those functions to the appropriate field. All right. Perfect. All right. So let's go to the text area. We'll give this a value of input, and we'll just go on change, listen for the event, and from there we'll set the input to e.target.value. Click save there, and we just need to add the next one, which will be for the output. We'll go value of output, and then now we need to add a button for the action itself. We'll go on click, handle action. I don't think I missed anything else. No, this isn't. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. And I need to add a label. So why don't we make that dynamic? I need to add those in too. We'll go const t button label be equal to use memo if the mode is equal to encrypt. We want to return enter text to generate a sha-256 hash. Otherwise, we want to return sha-256 cannot be directly decrypted. And then of course we'll need to pass back in the mode. And I think that works thus far. Cool. All right. We'll do a little bit of cleanup. That's good. That's good. I'm missing something somewhere else. Be a little better if I can just see the editor for right now. This should be a string of 0. That works. So now we need to get this baby on board. All right, let's look at this function for a second. All right. There we go. Just testing it out. Just testing it out here. You see it does encrypt. Perfect. But I think that we can make this button label dynamic so that it doesn't have to be hard coded in. And if we need to change it based upon the mode, it is easily done. So we have that listed there. Let me just I think I'll change this. And with this, we'll just return the mode, encrypt, YPT, or decrypt. And let's add the button label. Where did I put this thing at? There we go. There we go. That works. So let's update the reset. And I think I named that handle reset. So with this one, we'll just pass in the on-click handler, and we'll pass handle reset. And then with this one, we'll do the same on-click handle copy. Right, so let's just try copy first. We'll click copy here, paste it in, it works. And if we click reset, we see that cleans it up. So perfect. That is all that we need to do in order to create a simple but yet effective sha-256 function. And we basically just tapped into the URL encoder to help with that, so we didn't need any additional libraries or anything else. All right, let's test this thing out. My apologies. Let's type some text, hit encrypt, and you can see it listed there. If we click copy, I'll remove this, paste it in. You see this ends in FD5. FD5, click reset, everything goes away. So perfect. It appears that this is working as we intended. So good job, good job. So all right, so in today's video, we're going to create a very simple but effective sha-256 hash function. This is an additional part to the online toolbox series that we're building. The first function that we're going to integrate into the toolbox is the sha-256 tool. Basically, what we have is the ability to enter some text. And if we click the encrypt button, you notice that we get a hash function or a hash back. That is one way that can't be unencrypted. But what we can do with this is if we were to click the copy button, we'll have the ability to copy this text and paste it in if we needed to have this function for anything. And if we wanted to reset this, we have the ability to do so simply by clicking the reset button. So if you're brand new to web development or cybersecurity and you just want to learn how to build a simple 256 hash function, SHA function, excuse me, this is going to be a very quick, simple demonstration on how to do so without any additional tools, only using some React, JavaScript front-end hooks, the URL, crypto, and a few other little techniques to get things dynamically displayed on screen. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into some code.